Hello, my name is Ebenezer, and in this lesson, I'll guide you through the basic information that you need to know about the IELTS General Writing Tax. But before I start with the Tax 1, I would give you some introductory part of the General Writing Test when it comes to the IELTS. So we are going to cover some important things within this lesson. I'll guide you through why you should choose a general training, or what are the things that will also account for choosing general training test, and also some of the important facts that you should note in the test, and also the test format. All right, the thing that is included in the test, and also some of the skills that they assess, and you also check some sample questions. In what circumstance should you choose a general training test when it comes to the IELTS? The first thing you should notice that the general test is for those who want employment applications. Okay, so if you want an employment applications basically for non-professional jobs, then you have to write the IELTS training test. When it comes to the educational level, is for anyone who wants to learn in an English speaking country and is trying to achieve a certificate which is not up to a degree level. So if you are choosing a particular, you're going to learn in an institution which is not at a degree level or above degree level, then your choice is to have the IELTS training test. Aside that, if you are entering into a particular job where it's mostly a vocational job, or you are going to have a course which is a practical vocational course, then you have to also write the general test. So the general test basically is for those who want to enter into non-professional works. I'm talking about if you are not getting into jobs like law, getting into medical jobs, nursing, teaching, then you have to go and write the general test. But if you have to be writing, maybe you are a nurse, you are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you are a teacher, then this is not your part. You have to go and write the academic test. Some countries like Canada, basically, like they prefer you to get a general test when you are a skilled worker. Okay, so if you are a skilled worker and you actually going to general test, Canada, then I think you prefer to enter into the general writing. Now, there are some few differences between this academic and general, where the academic, you have to get, if you're entering into a particular employment line, professional jobs like these, doctor, nurses, law, teaching, and other professional works, then you need the academic, especially if you want to go to the UK and other countries. And also, if you're going to educate yourself but it's above degree level, then you need academic. So now that we have noted some differences between the academic and then the general, then one thing we will be learning are the important facts that you need to note when it comes to the general writing. When it comes to the general writing, you'll be sitting for two types of test. Okay, so under the writing tax itself, you have a part 1 which is called a tax 1, and then a tax 2. So you have two different writings to do within the writing itself. So within the test itself, you have two essays that you will be writing. When it comes to the writing tax 1, in the general writing, we mostly call it letter, because you'll be writing a letter. Okay, a letter to somebody else. It can be a family member, it can be a friend, somebody you don't know. Okay, so you just have to be writing a letter to those people, and you are required to write not less than 150 words. Your words, the number of words you are going to write should not be less than 150 words. And you are to spend about 20 minutes on this one, on the writing task one. But with the writing task 2, you are not supposed to write your essay less than 250 words. Your essay number should not be less than 250 words, and you're expected to use about 40 minutes to finish this work. That tells you that the entire general writing have a total number or total time of 60 minutes. And when it comes to the task 2, the task 2 contribute twice as many marks to the overall score as a task 1. So when it comes to the task 2, it is something like, I would say, 2 credit score, and then the task 1 is 1 credit score. But in all of them, it forms the total marks of the writing task. So if you take the task 1 alone, because that is what we are basing on now, looking at the general information about the writing task 1. So let's look at the writing task 1 alone. So as I informed you, the writing task 1 is a letter writing. Okay, so if you have forgot your letter writing when you were in your primary and JHS, then I think you need to go and revisit it now. So the general writing task 1 is basically a letter writing where you are required to write a letter requesting information or explaining the situation in relation to a specific circumstance. What we are trying to say is that you'll be writing a letter to people based on situations. So they'll give you the situation. It might be that you are apologizing to the person, you are maybe commending the person, you are trying to request something from the person. It might be that you want to make inquiries from the person. It might be that you want to apply for something, or you are trying to resign. So it's in different situations and circumstances, and because of that, they want to know how well you'll be able to write in such circumstances. And because of the way the letter is it is in 2 different forms. Okay, based on the circumstance, you might get it in 2 different forms. It might be that you are writing to somebody that you don't know. It might be that you are writing to someone that you don't know, and with that we call it a formal letter, because you don't know the person and you are not associating with that person, you are not well associated with that person. We implore that you make sure that you write in a formal format. So your format of writing should be a formal letter. But when it comes to the person that you know, it might be a friend or a close relative. Take note of that. It might be a friend or a close relative. So if you are writing to a friend or a close relative, then we expect that you write in an informal manner. So one of the major thing in the writing task 1 when it comes to the general writing task is about the tone of your letter. The tone of your letter. The tone of your letter shows how your relationship with the person is. The tone of your letter shows how your relationship with the person is. So for instance, if you are writing a letter to a friend, there have to be a tone in that particular writer to show the person that you are well associated with him. You can't be more formal with your friend when you are trying to say something to him. It feels awkward. And you can't be informal to your boss when you are writing a letter to him. It shows disrespect. So you have to make sure you give the correct tone to the letter that you are writing, and that is the most important part of your write-up when it comes to the general writing test. Now let's look at some of the question types that you might get when it comes to the writing task 1 in general test. In the general writing task 1, there are 7 common task 1 letters that you might write on. So these are 7 common topics that you might write on them. Just take note that you will get only one of these on your test day. So on your test day, you will get only one of these, but you need to get yourself acquainted with all these 7 question types so that you don't get locked down when you meet them. Okay, so these are the 7 question types. First of all, you might get a question that they'll be asking you to apologize. Okay, so that's called a letter of apology. So you might have done something wrong to somebody and you have to apologize to that person. Okay, so that is what you will have to get, or you have to just do that. You have to just write a letter to apologize to that particular person. You might also get another letter where they will ask you to make a complaint. So you might have seen a problem, there is somebody doing something wrong to you, you don't like it, or you might got into a situation that you don't like it at your workplace, at the place you stay, and you want to make a complaint to the head person. So you make a complaint to that person and then you write your letter as suit for the situation. This third one is about a request. So this is something that you need. It might be that you want to stay somewhere and you want accommodation. So you are requesting the person to give you that particular accommodation. So it's very important that you let your tone shows that you need that particular thing and the reason you need it. So the request is about you asking for something. Now, letter of explanation will be our fourth type. The letter of explanation is about you elaborating or trying to share more view about something. So it might be that you are organizing a particular program and somebody is attending and you're trying to explain the thing to the person of how it will be, where you people will be going, and some of the things that will come into it. So that is for letter of explanation. Now we have the fifth one, would be a letter of application or resignation, and that is very clear. You are in a job, in a company, you don't like it and you want to resign. So you want to write a letter to the manager to tell him or her that you are resigning. It might also be that you want to apply for a particular job and they want you to write an application letter to the head of department or whoever owned that company about your interest in that particular job. The next type is about your letter to make an arrangement, and that is a futuristic type of letter because you are trying to read ahead of time. So you are trying to make an arrangement. There is something that you have to do in time to come, but you don't want to get locked, or you don't want to be taking amiss when it comes to that particular time. So you want to make an arrangement towards that time so that you can prepare yourself very well for it. And the last one is about a letter of invitation, and this time you are trying to invite somebody either to your party, either to whatever thing that you are doing. It might be a job where you are organizing a program and you want to invite other people to it. So these are the 7 question types that you might get in your test. But remember, you only get one of them when it comes to the test day. And with each of these types, we're going through them step by step. You will see sample questions for them and you know how to also write them when it comes to these tests. Let's look at what the examiners need when you are writing these tests. Of all the things that we teach students, I think this is the most important thing that you should note. In any kind of exam, I think it's very important that you understand what the examiners need from you. And that is the reason why it's important to know the skills that the examiners will be assessing you on, so that you don't just write, but you understand that your write-up will earn you the points that you need or the band score that you need when it comes to IELTS. Now, when it comes to the writing tax 1 for general writing, you are assessed based on 4 marking criteria. You are assessed based on 4 marking criteria, and very important that you understand each one of them. The first one is about your tax achievement. Tax achievement, as the name implies, is about you being able to respond appropriately to the question given to you. For example, if they ask you to write a letter of apology, the examiner is looking at the way you've written it. Have you actually apologized to this particular person? If you were given some bullet points for you to write about, some things for you to write about, were you able to write about them very well, in such a way that is well understood? Were you able to meet that 150 words that were written, that were stated by the examiners? And were you able to also, when it comes to the tone of the writing, if it is a formal letter, were you able to write it in a formal format, or you missed? So they'll be checking all these to make sure that you were able to meet the response appropriately when it comes to the task. The second thing they'll be checking on is your ability to present a well-structured essay, and that is what we call coherence and cohesion. Coherence here means that you're able to speak in a way that is well understood, and cohesion means that you're able to combine your ideas in a way that it flows appropriately, or it flows well in such a way that it's easy for you to follow, or for the examiner to follow. And that is what they are looking at. And it's basically about your paragraphing, how you link your ideas, and how all the ideas are in good they are in a good way, or they are flowing very well. And that is what we call the coherence and cohesion. And the examiners are very, very strict on each of the skills assessed. The third part of the skill that is being assessed is your lexical resources. Lexical resources here simply mean your lexicons, which is the vocabularies that you have when it comes to a particular context. So if you are apologizing, were you able to use the right words to apologize? Were you repeating a lot? Okay, so if you are just repeating one word throughout the test, it shows that you are not versed when it comes to vocabulary for a particular context, and that will shorten your score. So you need to have appropriate vocabulary. That means that it should be words that you understand, that is well used in that particular context, and you should use it correctly. Very, very important. This means that it's not about how big the word is, it's about how correct you use it, okay, and how appropriate it fits in the context. Very important for you to note that. And the final thing that you should understand is your grammatical range and accuracy. The examiners will also be checking your grammar, talking about the tenses, talking about your sentence structures, and also using different types of sentence structures, like you are using complex sentences, simple sentences, collocations, references. You understand? It's prepositions and other things. So were you able to use all of them very well? Were you having a wide range for the grammar forms, and also were you able to use them appropriately? And that is very important. One thing you should notice that each one of these skills that the examiners are checking as a marking criteria forms 20% of the marks that you score. 20% of the marks that you score. That means that don't look down on any of them because they all have the same strength. Don't think that lexical resources is stronger than task achievement, or the task achievement is stronger when than coherence and cohesion. They all have the same score. So that is one thing you should understand. Now I will end today's lesson, and then in our next one we also go forward to look at some of the letter formats, and also go into detail with the question types. All right, so we'll end today's lesson. I'll meet you in the other. Thank you.